Do we have those
Get through this.
Mike.
Oh, don't take long.
Yeah, it could be now the screen now. Let's give her. Everyone met Audrey. Audrey is our new deputy. She's always behind the
My
scenes.
wife's name.
Oh, kind of glad they warned us.
That's one.
Yeah.
Are we? I guess we will call this meeting to order. We need the confirmation of agenda. On?
Patty'd like to make an addition.
I'd like
Oh.
to make an addition to the agenda.
Yes.
It's regarding willow trees. I don't know where you put that in, but
Summary, how to move, you should get a seconder and then get that addition.
Okay, so Ann made, Don did first, then Ann
Okay, good.
seconded,
And all right,
and then Patty
take the addition.
will make the addition.
Any other?
Okay, any other things we'd like to bring or put in?
Okay.
Okay.
And I
do
have
we
a vote
have-
on that.
Do we have to, yeah, we have to confirm that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I'm
that's
sorry,
out of first and a seconder.
You got a mover and seconder, so
Okay,
just
and
get
now we
it.
just say all in favor.
You got it, right?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, welcome.
You have to find your own chair.
And at this time, we'd like to do a disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Seeing none, I'm looking for confirmation of the adoption of the minutes for meeting May 18th. Bert, and seconded by Rita. All in favor? Okay. A recommendation that the minutes of the May 18th meeting of the Environmental Forested Trails Committee being adopted.
You just got that.
We've got that. Okay, great. Reports, Memorial Forest.
So, yeah.
I'm going to share my screen. And I wanted to give an update on the Memorial Forest and where we're at with that project. So we manage this project through the committee and also through the municipality. So I put together a brief presentation. So the West. Oops. Oh my goodness. Sorry, my computer is going very slow. Okay, so the Westbrook Memorial Forest provides an elegant and lasting way for you to recognize and honor loved ones through a meaningful tribute. The cost of a memorial tree is $250 and an official income tax receipt is issued for every tree order as requested. Has anyone been down to the Memorial Forest yet this year?
Sure.
Yeah, a few of us, great. So to give an update, the whole property has been planted with trees and interested folks purchase trees that are available. So typically they go around and they look to see any trees that don't currently have a plaque, they choose from those trees. Currently, we do not track visually which trees are sold and which are available. nor do we track how old each plaque is, like in a spreadsheet. So it makes it a little bit challenging if, say, Jane Doe would like to replace her plaque because she said it's faded. We can't quickly look up on a spreadsheet where her tree is, what kind of tree is, how old that plaque is. So it makes it a little challenging in that way to manage the plaques. Also, we've had a few trees in the Memorial Forest die due to the emerald ash borer or other casualties. So the municipality had an arborist in to review the trees in the Memorial Forest to see how many would need to be replaced. And it looks to be under a dozen trees that'll need to be replaced. So we'll hopefully put a tree order in this spring through one of our CA partners in order to buy those trees that need to be replaced. So that'll be a budget line
Talking
item.
trees like this.
Hopefully a little larger.
They're
Bare
at least 20 feet tall, aren't they?
Well, the CA trees
Yeah,
are usually
some-
little.
Some of them are up to 8 feet.
Fine.
So, so far in 2022, we've had 12 plaques ordered. All of 2021 plaques have been installed as of July 2022. But we've had no social media posts specifically advertising the Memorial Forest in 2022, and this could be improved to increase the purchase of plaques and trees in the future. Right now, it's mostly word of mouth and the Lockhart's Funeral Home that does our advertising for us. So currently, this is an example of one of our plaques. It's made of compressed plastic with a sticker on top. So they typically have a lifespan of about 5 years, but we're noticing ones that were in full sun are fading a lot faster. So we intend on returning to an anodized aluminum style that Lockhart's had originally done in the forest that have a lifespan of up to 15 years. So currently these plaques run about $10 each, and the anodized aluminum runs about $25 to $30 each. So they're more money, but they'll last longer. And with more shade cover, with the trees being more mature, will hopefully increase the lifespan of the plaques as well. So this is an example of an anodized aluminum plaque. We also have a new software that the municipality uses for our cemeteries. It's called Plotbox. And we intend to use this software to inventory the trees in the Memorial Forest to determine which ones are sold and which ones remain. This will help in locating plaques when replacements are needed, whether that's a plaque replacement or a tree replacement. So this is an example. Here it shows the green ones are the available, yellow are taken, and then the blue may have a few spots left if it's a cremation burial. So I was also talking to Mr. Lockhart about potentially doing a dedication service either every other year, or every 3 years. And other municipalities do this with their memorial forests, and they're usually well attended. And now that we're kind of over COVID and can return to these types of events, he thought it was a great idea to bring people back to the memorial forest to check on their plaques, to see their trees and how they're growing. So we may look at doing this into the future as well.
I have a comment. May I make a comment?
Yes, of course.
That rock there that you see, just move it back to that rock.
Yes.
That rock comes from our place. And I paid Frank Kelly with his tow truck, to bring it there. And his tow truck was just barely staying on the ground at the front.
Wow,
So Dan Conley and I moved that rock there from our farm,
amazing.
just so that you know.
There's a little piece of bird everywhere in Westbrook.
That's right.
The one at the trail on Frank Street is yours too. isn't it?
Yes, and the one across from the arena that's still there is mine too.
A pretty stony farm. don't you?
Yeah. But if you notice, they're all big stones.
Mhm,
And people don't mind the big stones. It's the little ones that are causing the problems.
mhm.
Yes, I think we gotta pick the little ones.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So that finishes my report on the Memorial Forest. If I open it up to any questions or comments that the committee has. Yes.
I think it's a good idea to maybe once a year have the dedication or to revisit that. It gets people involved, it gets people talking about it, and hopefully it brings more interest into it. And then people, if they have family members or friends there, they'll see that, oh, I didn't realize that plaque needs to be redone. And it's a good way to keep everything going, I think.
Yeah, our recreation department, the summer students spent a lot of time this year remulching most of the trees and they did a fantastic job. It looked amazing this summer.
If it's any consolation at all, up until COVID-19 started, I pulled all the dead trees out
Wow.
for Ted Illman. And most of those people are gone already, so.
Wow. Okay, wonderful. That completes my update on the Memorial Forest.
Okay, recommendation is that the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee accept the Memorial Forest update as information, and that the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee approved the 2023 budget line item for the Memorial Forest. Do we have a mover?
I will let you know, our current line item for Memorial Forest is $700 a year. If you all think that this is sufficient, with the 12 plaques that we ordered this year times $35 or $30 with our new plaques is $360 plus the trees that we'll need to purchase to be replaced. I think we can still do it within $700. Doesn't cover staff time, but it covers our expenses. So I'll add in $700 for the 2023 budget.
Why don't you make it 800 for the six? It sounds like you're pretty close to the line.
I can do 800 if the committee wishes.
Everything goes up.
Yeah.
We have a mover and a seconder for that. Do we need that? Mover and seconder for that? Yeah. Second by. All in favor?
So you move that up to 800?
Okay. Now, does that also, so we have covered that then, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Memorial Forest 2022 update, wetlands.
Oh, yeah. So the wetlands will do the Phragmites removal update. So we had talked to Jay Abel from UTRCA about their advancements with the Phragmites removal, and he wasn't able to get a report to us in time, but it was very successful year this, or sorry. So Phragmites is invasive Phragmites.
Is in the wetlands.
Yeah, in the
So that was
wetlands.
the, yeah,
Yeah, so sorry, that was
yeah,
not-
that's okay, that's all right. So,
So-
we talked to folks from, what's the name of that company? IPCC, yeah. Invasive.
Phragmites count.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here it is.
They're
So
the guys that actually do the work, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a company that we've used for the last 3 years to do the spraying of Phragmites, and every year they give us a proposal in the beginning of August or the middle of August, and they try to spray in the window from September 15th to October 15th. It's their kind of spray window for frag, which is really surprising, right?
Yeah.
You'd think it would be a spring thing, but it's really a fall spray.
So there's a report in the agenda, just an update that the spraying was intended to be completed on Friday, this past Friday, but I think the weather wasn't looking great, so they may have pushed it into early this week. And the plan is to work on the same areas as last season, using the same kind of equipment and a little bit of pesticide. And so I don't think that we have any plans of terminating this project. It's a maintenance project at this point.
Yeah, so the only comments I would offer is that you see some municipalities that are aggressively going after the Phragmites and some that are letting it go. And I think that the cost of letting it go is going to make it a much bigger and more complex project later. I think the chance they're taking though is that technology will get better. So I think we have a slightly better spray. Although, and you know, I do think we're keeping ahead of it. We've stayed on it and we're keeping it at bay, and I'm not sure if we're ever going to get stopped, but we're keeping it at bay. Yeah.
Can I just make a comment? I agree with the spraying. Anybody who's involved in birding knows that Phragmites for ducks is the worst thing. So I appreciate that the municipality is doing whatever it can to control it. I've seen a lot of municipalities aren't doing anything about it, and it does get out of control. If you notice along the roadsides, it just takes over everything. So for waterfowl, it's important to have a natural habitat and try to control predators.
Okay, 522, I guess is Darcy.
Yeah, so my update kind of is with Rita and June. We worked together to make a budget, and I'm gonna maybe can you just hand those, Jeff? That's the budget for the stair project. So I'm gonna hand out the budget, and I'm gonna hand out a map to kind of show where they are. So that it kind of explains, and I guess Rita and June are more the questions on why and what. I'm just here to kind of bring the budget together and show you what the budget looks like for both sets of stairs. I separated them out for the most part. There is the option that the group can have to do one set of stairs this year and do the next set next year, or do all of them or both of them, sorry, in the same year. Obviously, there's some logistics of having the stuff already ready to go, doing the 90-foot to do the 30-foot while you're there, but I'm open to either way. I have left some room in the budget to have contractors assist, but some of the work would definitely be done with staff as well. So, yeah, I think June or Rita have anything?
Well, I guess being a birder and myself, trying to get down those hills there, the thing is at the age I'm at now. It used to be earlier, I could have done it, and I ran into a guy. I was telling him that we were putting in. He said, well, thank God. He said, I had a crawl up. It's about 72, and he has a big camera like this, and he had a crawl up the thing. He takes all those lovely warblers and everything, because in the spring down here is full of all kinds of birds. And so, and a couple other ones from the birding group. One of them I ran into a food land here, and he said, thank heavens, he said, my sciatic is done. He said, I haven't been down now in 2 years. Maybe I'll be able to get down. So I think it's the age that we're at that this would be a bonus for it.
And I just want to make a comment. I mean, it's not necessary to have 2 stairs as long as we have one set of stairs. I think birders will use that one set of stairs. I mean, a lot of us are going around, but a lot of us also go down that big dip, because when you're going around birding, that's usually where you end up at the far end. So as long as there's one set of stairs, we're not asking that, you know, that we have 2 set of stairs. I mean, if the budget allowed it, that would be great. But we realize that, you know, there are constraints, and one set of stairs would be just wonderful.
Actually, I agree with you. I don't know that we need 2. The one at the north end, which is down at the bottom of the page, is much shorter, of course, and much shallower, and therefore much cheaper. The other one's very steep. Used to be where the kids took their dirt bikes and quads up there and chewed up the high bush cranberry. Yes, it's nice to get into that corner. I think if you're hiking, it's also the messiest for the quads, right? That's where all the ruts are and the swamp that they create. So I have a mind that we should just do the northern one.
Which is the northern one.
The one at the bottom.
Go around, you know where you go around.
This one here up the
Yeah.
front. Oh, well, that's the second year one. This is because if a lot of people will start here, go around, come here,
Yeah.
and then go down and along here. This is the one that gets most of the traffic. And
Surely
Yeah,
not.
the southern.
Huh?
People don't walk down there of choice. Surely to God.
Surely to God they do. You have to go out there in the spring when all the birds are coming. They go down there, and that's the problem. That
When you're birding, you usually start right at the right
At the
when you
lookout.
come in, and then you go around to
Yeah.
the fenced-in pond, and then you go around the back, and then
Yeah.
you come back and you go around the south side and come down. And if you want to go down to the woodlot, you go down that way. I mean, we we could have, I mean, it could work the other way too, but that's usually the
Yeah,
way we bird.
it's just a matter of going down that berm
Yeah,
and then into the woods.
Yeah.
and whatever.
so, I mean.
So you'd have to have
It also-
somebody out there giving them directions and saying, go that way instead of this way. They
That's
won't
funny,
do what
'cause-
they'll do.
Well, I think as long as they know there's a set of stairs, they can figure out which way to go around.
This is the best.
I think as long as there's a set of stairs, that's the only thing, whichever.
And if you go out and look at the traffic, you'll see where that is quite well used, you know, when we went out to look at it. It's used quite heavily down here, not up here because they can come out a different way. Anyways, that's.
So to clarify for some of us that aren't birding, you're saying the longer bridge is the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that would be used more as
Yeah.
opposed to the shorter.
Yeah.
cheap one.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the people though?
I think actually what you're planning is a good idea, but I'll tell you a little story. When the Rotary Club built that viewing station,
Yes.
we asked Mike Kramer, who you probably all know who Mike Kramer is, to make a wheelchair accessible path up there.
Yeah.
And he never did that for a couple of reasons, because he said, if I do that, then I have to put railings up and everything. So he said to me, you make it. And I made it. And I made that trail, and people can go up there with a walker and everything. What I'm afraid is going to happen is when you build a staircase, the next thing is going to be an elevator, because 90% of the people can hardly walk up steps that steep and that high. I'm in favor of what you're doing, but I think you're asking for trouble when you build staircases, when in fact, they can just walk around the side and walk up. You know what I'm saying? You're walking anyway. What's the difference if you're walking another 500 feet to go around the stem? So I won't vote against your project, but that's what I'm saying. When you start putting steps up, as the municipality put steps up, then the next guy is going to come up and say, well, if the municipality can afford steps, they can afford an escalator or an elevator. So that's what happens.
Have you ever been out to Morrison Dam?
Yes.
There are all kinds of stairs out there and they don't have elevators. But you know, there are stairs, I mean, to get from, and from a liability point of view, do you want people falling down that hill and breaking a leg
No.
or breaking a shoulder, whatever?
I'm just giving you
That's
my
where
opinion.
I'm
That's all.
coming from, because I know a lot of people use that far end. They do, I'm just saying, it's, you know, it's up to you people, but I'm just saying, being a birder, that's what happens.
Jeff?
Yeah, and I think Darcy could make these comments the same as me. I'll take a crack at it. Maybe he'll repair any damage I do, but I think we have to start to look through these through a more of a liability lens. And whether we like it or not, it hasn't arrived at us yet. We haven't had a really litigious community, but I think we have to, one of Darcy's many tasks is to look at our trails and identify where we're exposing ourselves to risk, and our insurers insisting on that. The conservation authority folks in the room know everything about this, and so steps are okay because it's a recreational trail. So you can have a recreational trail that has stair steps on it. It doesn't have to be accessible. I think we want to improve accessibility, and people that are birding probably have, I think the examples we've heard can use a set of steps better than they can use a ramp, quite frankly, because of the nature of getting up them. And I do think we have to keep an eye on how far this goes. We won't be building escalators, and I hear the concern, Bert, and I think you know, we've got to go from a very sort of limited access that we have now and take it to the next step and then go from there. Is there anything?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on a nose. Is that would we like to make it accessible? Sure, but it's not going to be accessible in that corner, but we'd like to make it accessible to more people that they can get up and down that corner without liability issues. I have talked to the building department. They're on board with it. We're working out a few of the specs as far as railing and stuff, but for the most part, they're on board. So the municipality is on board with the stairs being built.
Can I just make one more
Yes.
comment? I'm
absolutely.
sorry. I have to make this point. You people don't realize what a gem you have in Westbrook wetlands. There are people from all over Ontario that come to see the West Perth wetlands.
I ran
As
into 10
birders-
of them yesterday
Yeah. there you go.
with my truck.
Come on.
They wondered what I was doing there, and I said, I already took the birdhouse down.
Yeah.
And I said, if you want to do that, you're welcome to it. So they let me
Well,
through.
But you gotta understand that they come in and they spend money in the community too, they do. So, you know, you've got a gem here, we've got a gem and we've got to look after it. So that's just my point of view.
I agree. Since I've got it started.
So Marie, I guess I can wrap it up. I guess the decision that the group really needs to make is if it's one staircase or two. And
Which
if
ones?
it's one, which one, and then I can figure out from there how much you carry in the budget. I would say like, so the longer one is about $7,500. The shorter one is 2,500, but then you'd have to, I did do a little bit of budgeting in the 90 for the 30. So I think you'd have to look at like 3,500 probably. So you're 7,500 to 3,500 if you're building one, 10,000 should do both. I'm good with whatever decision. I think we just got to make that decision so we know what the recommendation is going to the budget.
I don't think 10,000 is a lot of money. In this regard, I don't know why we wouldn't do them both.
So we'll say if budget allows, we'll do 2. If budget doesn't allow, we'll do the 90-foot.
That would be my inclination.
Yeah, we can pass a recommendation to do both if the budget allows for it, but the 90-foot would be a priority number one compared to the 30-foot, if that's your consensus.
That's a great way to put it in.
I agree. Is everybody okay with that? If we do
Yes.
make that recommendation
Yeah.
or request. Now, do I need a first, seconder, or is it just information to take?
We're
I
going
think,
to-
yeah, we're gonna
pass
revisit
all
it.
3 of these in one
Okay.
recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty confident.
I'm ready to give her a go.
If we're done with that, then everybody's okay with that last item, then we'll move for Rita. Christie, ruts and trails at wetlands. Any concerns we have with that?
Okay, so I think you ran into somebody that almost fell on the South Sand, right? Was it Terry that almost fell? Yeah. So there are ruts. Well, I guess I'm gonna ask first of all, you're not gonna like me for this, but is there any way we can prevent ATVs from going through the bottom part of the wetland?
So it
Not the
depends.
first time this has been approached.
It depends on the trail type. So if it's a multi-use trail or if it's a pedestrian only trail, because trails can be for pedestrians, cyclists, horseback riders, ATVs. So we would really want to define the trail as what type of multi-use we'd want on that trail. And I know that Darcy's team is working on identifying the trails in West Perth and what type of trail they'll be, if they'll be like a stone dust, very manicured trail or more of an off-road category 2 trail. So that's all kind of part of that larger discussion.
Okay, because when you come down that back end, when you come down, that whole area at the south end there is just rutted out real
Yeah.
bad.
Exactly.
And, sorry,
The trails are already designated.
okay,
It says there's no ATVs, except mine and Bert's,
okay,
because we do the maintenance.
yes.
So I don't think it's a problem. The problem is, how do you
How do you catch it?
maintain that? Yeah,
How's it enforced?
you can't enforce that. You have to have
Is there a
Police-
sign down there?
Sorry?
Is there a sign down
a
there?
sign at the entrance to the wetland, there's a sign at the entrance to the trails.
So
Hey, am I wrong?
You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
We did this here.
The sign's been gone long ago.
Oh, we'll put the
I
sign
haven't
back.
seen any signs, but I know signs don't prevent people from.
Nah, they tear the sign down. That's why.
Patty?
A few years ago, Jerry and I made a power presentation. The woodlands out there were completely rotted and ripped up from ATVs. We made a power presentation to council and we made a power presentation to the OPP. And they monitored I don't know if they charged people, but they were out there and they made it clear to the ATVers
Sorry.
they were not to be in there. So that worked for a while. But after a few years, you know,
Yeah.
you get new ATVers and they get back in there. But the ruts on that far side, I don't think were ever fixed. The ones on this side were, I don't know, did you do that, Bert? Did you go in there?
Yes, I did. I went through the whole works of them with a skid steer and leveled them off and everything
Yeah,
for, I spent a couple of afternoons there, but the tree roots are really embedded into the ruts, and I have a hard time. But you have to fill them up with stone dust or something, and
yeah, I think they're okay kind of on this side of the.
but the far side has always been
Right.
rutted.
It's a mess.
I couldn't level it off with the skid steers.
I think you'd have to take fill in and stuff to fix that.
Okay.
And then keeping them out is a, you know, maybe the OPP have to be alerted again to go and monitor it.
That's what it sounds like, because it was partially effective.
It
first
was
time.
effective for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was the ATVs that did the problem. It was the dirt bikes.
Oh,
They have
yes,
only
okay,
one,
that's the
only
other
two
one.
wheels, and they take off the dirt bikes. The ATVs, they usually have 4-wheel drive when they go in there, and they don't make near the mess the dirt bikes do.
Well, it was both,
The ruts were Rita's talking about are ATVs.
yeah.
Yeah, they're ATVs. You can tell they're ATVs.
We've seen them out there.
Oh, have you?
They're
I've never seen
ATVs.
anybody there, but
Yeah,
So would you like to direct staff to add this to the social campaign and website? That can be an action item,
what do you mean?
like add it onto the social media
Yeah.
stuff, telling people, oh,
Don't do this?
reminder,
Oh,
reminder.
sure, why not?
And
Why
then
can't we
on the
put the
website-
signs back up too?
Yeah, and get the signs back up, but that wouldn't hurt at all, man. That would be great.
So the signs may be an additional budget item if we don't have signs.
Well, there were just little things like this that were on the entrance signs.
Mhm.
It said, no ATVs.
So if I may, I think a couple suggestions to go forward here are, we have the signs on the signs are, the signs are plans. We want a comprehensive sign program, and we don't want the signs to be disjointed, and we're trying to be consistent about that. There's a lot happening at once here.
Yeah.
And so I hope you can appreciate that there's enough to keep us busy, but
Yes.
we're trying to work them in.
Yeah.
So even if we do temporary signs, that's an option. If we know there's a pattern of use, we now use, we have a new system for bylaw enforcement, which is, we use a company that's been, I think, very effective. I think we're trying to find that balance between no enforcement and too much enforcement. And believe me, you're always kind of swinging back and forth on that pendulum. I think we found the balance around parking and a number of property matters that we're really working on. We could talk to the clerk about asking for some help with that trail, as starting out as an education and then using enforcement second. Maybe we'll have to throw a couple of temporary signs up to allow us to enforce it, and then do social media. And that perhaps we need this as an interim plan until we can get a full sign. And then the only thing that's left undone is the ruts.
Yeah.
And I think whether there's a plan for the ruts or not, I don't know whether we can have a look at them and figure out if Bert needs some help to get those done. That's another question. But I think how the ruts are getting created, we can get on top of and then figure out how we can deal with them. So if you leave that with staff as direction, I think we can take Rita's input and work away at it.
Okay, now we're at recommendations, which I guess we've kind of gone through that. Next is Avani.
Oh, we want to pass the,
All three of those.
Okay. So we need somebody to, you're John, you're
Yep.
going to do that. Seconded. Rita, all in favor? Let's go.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, now we will move on to Celebrate Natural Connections event, October 22nd, the Lions Park. Avani?
What about the back?
Yeah, I think you're missing the back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's got about these stuff. There we go. Oh. we're trying
That
to
was a lot.
economize and Put it on the back.
Well, yes, okay, terribly sorry about that. Okay, Warner Wetlands, yep. So now we go to trails, and that would be Patty. Sorry. about that, folks.
Trails.
Yeah, the graffiti on the park bench update.
The back page.
I didn't get it.
We're on
Yes, it is
five
on
point
the back.
three.
No, I printed this one. Oh, here's, okay, the first thing was there were, I think it's almost 2 years ago now. People graffitiing, some of the benches and some of the signs. And I brought it up at probably the last 2 meetings. It's never been dealt with. And this second, I don't know if you want to talk about that before I go into.
We can do
second
both.
one.
We can do both at the same time if you want. Cover
Okay.
them both.
So over in the Lions Park, the trail over there is damp. There's no stone dust on it, and it's like grease. A friend of mine fell there. They slid in on the slippery, it's just like grease. So I've also asked for stone dust several times for it to be stone dusted, and nothing's happened there either. So those are the 2 things.
Okay, I can do both of those. So the graffiti, we have purchased a product. We're just trying to get staff out to do it. We unfortunately couldn't procure it. We had people, but the money was outrageous what they wanted to come down and clean it professionally. So we are going to try a product. It does have very good reviews from other municipalities that they've been having luck with it. So I'm hoping to dispatch some staff over the next, before the middle of November anyway, to do that. Right now we're just low on staff. We had some medical issues and stuff. So as soon as we get everybody back and we're at full steam, I'm hoping to dispatch a couple for that. As far as the stone dust, I just met with the Lions Club last week. They are purchasing stone dust. I guess that was something that they've done in the past. It kind of got.
No, they haven't.
Oh.
I put it on.
Okay, they told me they purchased it and then,
They maybe have purchased
They
it
maybe
now,
purchased
but
it.
I've put it on before.
okay. And maybe I could work with Bert, but they said they would purchase it, they would get it delivered, and then we would install it. So I'm just working with the Lions Club on that, because that part is something they kind of have taken on, I guess, in the past. I didn't know about it till I met with them about other things and it kind of came up. So that would be the update on the Lions Park session. Is that
Do they have a timeline for that?
I'm hoping again before the middle of November, as soon as I can get staff back and we can get going on it. So I'm hoping this fall, if not first thing in the spring for sure, but hopefully this fall.
Well, I almost decided, was gonna ask Bert just to go do it, because
The
I
big problem-
know he would.
The big problem is by doing it in the fall, I'm not sure how you deal with the floods in the spring.
Right.
All that water comes over that area of the trail. And usually water takes the stone dust back into the river.
Right.
And
So
then
it
we
might be
can't dig
best
it
to
out.
wait till the spring after the floods and then.
That's my idea.
Yeah, no, that's a really good observation.
Makes sense.
Good point, Bert.
Can I diverge?
Yes.
Because we're on trails and we just did wetlands. Pray tell, what happened to the benches that we were supposed to get?
They got delivered last week.
Holy smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. They got delivered last Thursday.
I was gonna give you help.
Nope. They're sitting in the old municipal office right now. We gotta build them all. They came in parts,
Yes,
but they did get delivered last week. So they're here.
dandy.
They're here, yeah. Yeah, we ordered them. I checked it, I think it was April 3rd, and they got delivered
Now,
last week, Thursday last week, yeah. But
can you remind me how many I spoke for the wetlands?
I'd have to look that up for sure. I think I ordered 10. I think we have 10 that we're gonna spread, but I forget how many we did.
We started off with 3 and then because of it was gonna be late, we decided we were gonna do them all, I think, which made 5.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be fine. Let me double check, but yeah, we can for sure do 3 and probably we can do 5, yeah.
Bless you, my son.
And where are they going, these 10? Where are they
So-
being placed?
What I did is ordered 10 because we got a good price on it at 10, and then they're gonna be kind of our benches. So if someone says, hey, we need a bench then we dispatch a bench over there type thing.
What are they made of? What do they look like?
They're gray and they're like a CRP plastic bench, not wood.
Yeah.
They can be engraved. So if someone is a memorial, they can come in and engrave them, or you can put a plaque on them, whatever works best. I've seen them engraved. I don't know if anyone's been at the Exeter splash pad. They put all new ones from the same company in there. They engraved them. I checked them. They've been over 5 years and they still look great with the engraving. It's Custom Rock Creations comes in and engraves them.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're gonna show us?
I'm
They're
sure the
beautiful.
one on the right.
Yeah,
They're
it's the one
very
on the right.
heavy.
Like that? Well, wait a minute. Which one do you like?
Sturdy.
Not cheap, that's one.
That's the one that we're.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the
I
wrong place.
understood that we're replacing.
They look
some of the
fine.
benches that are in bad
Any ones that are in bad shape, that's part of the program. It's okay, this one needs to go and we'll replace them with these benches so that we have a
Gradually, they'll all be changed
over to this. And then any new ones will also be this. And I can order more as we go along, but that was what was in the budget for this year. So that's what got delivered this year.
These get anchored in the ground?
Yeah, that would be best case scenario is either a stake to anchor them. If obviously cement pad is the perfect situation if we're able to do that, and then
Right.
you just anchor them right to the cement pad, but they can be anchored in multiple ways for sure.
Okay.
I also have, when we're on this bench thing, it's perfect. Paul Steinbach, pardon me?
He called you, did he?
No, he came right in.
Yeah, because I told him where to go.
Thanks, Bert.
You're welcome.
Anyway, he generously said he would like to donate a park bench for the trails and forestry. So we have somebody that wants to donate one, so.
Dandy.
So that might be perfect. Maybe pass the contact information on to Hannah and myself, and we can definitely make that work.
I think you just hand that right.
He would
down.
like,
Dawn gets
he would
to
like for
handle
the wetlands specifically or anywhere?
He said wetlands, that's what he said, told me, so.
Good for Paul.
Yes,
Good citizen. That's good.
Wonderful.
and that's something maybe social media people know or are concerned about the benches, that they do have the opportunity to maybe donate towards it, and that would help ease some of the.
That's good too, Hannah.
We're currently running a sponsorship and donation campaign for the Caterson Park Pavilion and Park project, because there's going to be a large trail going in there. So I think we have sold 1 or 2 benches for that project already for Caterson. So they'll be getting engraved with the donors' names.
So what would the purchase price be if someone wanted one?
We have for the.
I think it's pretty close to $1,000.
Yeah, I think it's 1,000 or 1,500.
For what?
Yes,
Wow.
That's with
They're very
engraving.
expensive.
They're over $600 for a
I
bench.
dealt with plastics straps.
So the purchase price would be,
We're just trying to look to see what we did for,
So we're currently selling park benches by donation for $2,000 for the Caterson Pavilion project. That's for Caterson kind of only.
I don't think it
Um,
was.
That's what they are for the G2G trail. They're 2,500 if you want to donate a bench there.
So,
Yeah,
if we-
so-
yeah, if we have someone who wants to donate the bench,
Yeah.
it's not part of that sponsorship or
Right.
Yeah.
fundraising
So we'll make
package,
it
so we'll have to figure out, we'll contact, but the bench purchase price
it was
was.
over 600 before tax, I think. It was
Yeah,
600
and then we have to get it installed and we'll see if he wants it engraved or not. So there's a few things to sort out, but we have the contact name. We can implement it from there and we have 10 benches.
Mhm.
Yeah, it strikes me that 2,000 is a lot for the locals to
Yeah, and
fork
that,
over.
that of course, Don, that's a Caterson
That's
part.
for the Caterson.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
Caterson project and those benches
Quite
have a
visible.
much higher profile than the benches
I
out of the
agree.
trails,
I agree.
right? So it's a different fundraising package that we put together for Caterson.
Okay, everybody's. Are we able to move on? Okay,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
Where do our volunteers come in? Because you said staff is gonna put these benches together. I know we have volunteers that are just waiting for someone to call them to do something. And you talk about washing benches. Why not ask the volunteers to wash the benches?
Yeah, I would be totally open for volunteers to come in and help build benches, wash benches, do the graffiti. We want to test the product to make sure that we're happy with it first, but after that, if there's any volunteers, I don't know, how would you best think that I could communicate to find these volunteers to?
Ask Don Jones, he's a volunteer. I volunteer, and nobody ever calls me, except you called me once that I could have some stone dust, and I have access to my crib.
That's two guys, Bert.
Yeah, but there's lots of them out there, but what's happened is, as Bert Junior tells me, he says, once you've set up this committee thing with everything that is in committees, the volunteers have backed away. And you got to reinvest into the volunteers. Like Rita, you're a volunteer, aren't you?
I do stuff there. I guess.
Yeah,
I don't
so,
know. I don't- I'm not
there-
called a volunteer.
There's
I
quite a
didn't
few
think that.
volunteers around that are more interested in doing stuff.
Okay, well, maybe we can advertise volunteer opportunities on the website and say, hey, we're looking for a graffiti removal day. Is anybody interested? I just don't.
It's true, in the olden days,
Yeah,
we ran with volunteers.
Yeah.
They did everything,
like,
and we had 30, 40.
yeah, Paul Steinbach, he called me first. And I sent him to Murray. And I said, go in to see Murray. He'll sell you a car if you want. Paul Steinbach asked me how much these benches cost. And I know what they cost, the ones we put in. They were $250. And
Yeah.
Paul says, yeah, I can afford that. But now we're looking at another zero behind that $250. That makes it $2,500. And he's not going to pay that.
No. of course
No,
not.
neither am I.
But as they said, that was for the Caterson.
Yes,
thing.
yes.
If it's only 600 or 800, or if he just wanted to make, so what
donation
he
toward-
did want to do, a donation towards it, I'm sure we'll still accept
yeah.
that.
But open the whole damn issue up so that the people are aware that you're prepared to take volunteers.
Yeah.
And not say, well, if you want to volunteer, you have to go through the council meeting, you have to have a motion to volunteer, and you have to be on it. And that's what turns a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And I know a few of them that have sat on our committee that have said, to hell with that nonsense, I'm not gonna do that. So they quit.
They just want to help. They don't
They
want.
want to help, yeah. And I know what situation you're in if somebody gets hurt. I don't know how to deal with that either, but Jeff has the answer.
Look, there's two parts to this. There's volunteers for committees, and then there's volunteers to do projects. And I think you're heading in exactly the right direction. The people who research this very closely and look at the trends will tell you people don't want to volunteer for committees, but they'll give lots of time to come to an event. And I think you see some of the events, they'll come out and work at an event. So we have to reorganize, but we're still going to need volunteers for committees. And that's going to be slightly different than the volunteering for events. And I think through COVID and coming out of it, we have a volunteer, we have Abby back. I'm just struggling for recreation coordinator.
Yep.
We have Abby back from her mat leave, and we can reorganize along the lines of deploying people, but we've been a couple of years without being able to do it in the conventional way. And yes, the way liability is changing and has migrated, it's a lot more complex than it was. Just like it used to be a $250 bench, and it's now a $700 bench. It's a different time and a different product. And it's not a terrible escalation. The sponsorship price is a lot higher, but we can work our way through this stuff as long as we know about it. All right. So if you think it's time to start re-engaging volunteers, we're going to be talking about how we constitute committees. And it's certainly our sense too, that there's more people that would just like to show up and volunteer and not show up for the meeting to organize the volunteers. We can handle that. If that's the input from the committee, I think we can handle that.
Patty?
Going back to the benches, the existing benches that are there are going to be replaced, I understand.
Which benches where? Like, where are we
The
talking?
benches that we already have out there.
You're
At
talking
the
about all of them?
Wherever,
Along the
I planted
trail
all
in
those
the park.
benches.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna go rip benches out that are still good. Like, if there's issues with them, if there's liability, if there's something, then we will look, but Like Veterans Park, all we did is we replaced a few boards, we're putting them back up, because they're still good.
Yeah,
They're still good benches. They've been, so no problem. But in the future, if there's real big issues, then we look at deploying the new ones. I'm not going ripping everyone up. We probably have more spots that we want to put new ones compared to replacing the old ones, right? But if there is liability issues, then we deal with them.
I understood as needed, they would be replaced. So the person who sponsored it in the first place doesn't have to pay the
No,
replacement.
we wouldn't force them.
That
to
would
do
be the municipality would just
Correct.
replace.
Correct. And again, I'm not gonna go out of my way to start replacing them if they're still good. They're still good. That's, the Veterans Park is a good example. It was just a few boards we had to replace, put them back up and get them in concrete correctly, so they're not tipping.
Yeah.
There you go.
Percy, I'm still thinking about the graffiti and stuff.
Mhm.
What are these things?
they just.
Mark, wait, is it paint?
Spray paint. For the most part, on like the metal plaques, on like it's everywhere. Signs.
In the state park that I'm at in the winter time, I go around with pressure washer
Okay.
and blast it off. Now, those benches are aluminum,
Right.
which may react better to that. Have we tried?
We
blasting
tried,
it?
we tried one bench and it would come off, but we were chipping the heck out of the wood and everything.
Yeah, okay, so that's not,
So.
all right.
it's- I want to try this product. Everybody, a lot of municipalities are saying, yep, this is the one, because people have gone through, with emails going on galore, like, has anyone got a product, anyone, and someone finally found, so we're trying it, see if it works. I hope it does. It's kind of a leave on, let it sit for a bit, scrub it, and then wash it off. And it apparently takes the graffiti with it, so.
Good.
But yeah, there's a few of the plaques especially that we really don't want to ruin while taking the graffiti off, but right now there's graffiti all over them, so.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess the recommendation that the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee accept the request updates as information. Do I have a mover and seconder? Bert? Patty? All in favor? Forest, and this will be you, Jeff.
Rural Roots, is that what we're up to?
Yeah.
Good, thanks, Chair. Through the Chair, I've just got a quick update on the Rural Roots project. This update was submitted by Tony Jackson on behalf of the volunteers that he's coordinated to do that roadside planting. They submitted this report in August, and it went to council for information on the consent agenda at the October 3rd meeting. So the quick summary is that they planted 61 trees, a variety of species, to avoid just using one type were planted. The tree size varied between 6 and 12 feet in height. The smaller ones were bare roots that were sourced through the Conservation Authority, and the larger ones came from a local nursery, and they were potted. The base circumference varied from 2 to 4 inches, and the trees planted at 10 different landowner locations in Logan, Fullerton, and Hibbert. So they ended up losing one of their sites and had a slight reduction on their number of plantings. They got close to spending out their budget for this year, but they didn't spend the whole one. And I want to point out again that the municipality puts the money into this, but Rural Roots also secures money through the Perth Stewardship Network to support the project. So it's great leverage. And of course, there's the trees that come from the Conservation Authority are already somewhat subsidized to encourage planting. So, and there's a tremendous amount of in-kind work with the digging of these holes and looking after them and putting the wrapping on them and staking them. And this group has done a lot of work. Council received that report, and it was a 3-year pilot project. So we're at the end of the 3 years. I've been directed to meet with Tony Jackson and review with them just what the future of the project is. And certainly West Perth would like to continue it, but it's relying on that group of volunteers and those connections, and just to see how it's going to work in the future. So we just wanted to give you an update that rural roadside planting program went ahead again. It's been It's pushed right through as we've gone through COVID, and they've done a great job. And I think we just want to see what we're doing with it next year and figure out what budget they're interested in putting forward.
And you back up a little bit, show me what stewardship there.
$1,000.
Yeah, okay, we can afford that, fine. I was gonna say, though, First Stewardship Network is coasting. Because they're no longer funded from the government. So I think you can look forward to another $1,000, but that source will eventually dry up.
And I think we're quite grateful for getting that little piece, and that relationship is being managed by the group that are doing the planting, that are doing the work. They're securing the money, and I suppose when it dries up, we'll have to look for other sources or
Yeah,
adjust from there.
I think our budget is I don't know, I think we might have $10,000 left.
Are we selling trees to the public?
Is West Perth selling trees
Yeah.
to the public this year? There will be a tree power project again, I believe. We've reached out to Earth to have that conversation
Oh, yeah.
through Earth.
The Healthy Forest Grant.
Yeah, sorry, tree power is what it's called in
St.
London.
Mary's.
In
Yeah.
London, we've done Tree Power in London, Stratford,
Yeah.
Perth South,
Yeah.
and St. Mary's.
Yeah. So do we have an update on that Earth project coming up later in the agenda? Bert?
I was able to pick up a couple of trees from
Through the Earth
Perth
program?
South.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
We have St. Mary's this set.
they'll be coming over to pick them up for.
They will?
if they-
I don't think they will.
No problem.
They were
So
only
there's an
weed
update.
trees anyway, they were only oaks, so.
There's an update coming.
You're patient, are you?
Eh?
So,
You're patient, fellow. Watching the oak tree grow.
any other questions on rural roots then for today? So obviously there'll be, we'll talk to them about what money to show in the 2023 budget. I just need to get together with Tony Jackson, and I think I got to chase him down. He was after me to help him because that bare root stock came in and it needed to be planted in a big hurry. And that was the weekend that I was absent, and he had plans for me that I think he'll be going for it for next year, just so he can make me plant what I missed this year. So.
okay, so update on funding for the West Perth Healthy Forest Grant. So as you know, the West Perth Healthy Forest Grant has gone, I think, for 2 years now. The CAs have been graciously kind of maintaining and encouraging landowners to use that grant. UTRCA and ABCA are the CAs that we work with on this grant. They now have waiting lists of landowners who are wanting to participate and plant trees through this program. I know a few of us have benefited from the Healthy Forest Grant program. And it's just an incentive program for people in West Perth to plant trees. Anyone can buy trees through this program that live in West Perth and that are planting them in West Perth. Excuse me. So I've contacted Earth Power Corporation again to see if they'd be willing to give us $5,000 again like they did last year for the program. I haven't heard back yet about whether or not they'd be willing to give us the money, but I think it would be in the committee's best interest to at least put some money towards this, even if Earth can't fork over some money for it, because people are just starting to find out about the program. Other municipalities have the tree power program or clean water programs like in Huron County. So I think the first year when we didn't have any funding from exterior sources, we put $1,000 towards this program, $500 for each CA. And I would like to see it be more, obviously, that we would invest in this. But again, that's kind of up to budget. So of course, we're still pursuing more funding, but I do have the CAs asking me, are we still running this program? I have wait lists for next spring. And usually the tree order forms are due at the end of January, early February. So we have to make a decision on this so that the CAs know before December. So I would like to see a budget item for this for us to be $2,000 for 2023. That'll cover the spring tree planting program, and it'll give $1,000 to each CA for landowners. So I will still continue to pursue funding sources externally, like through Earth Power, But if we don't get those, at least we still have a contingency. Because they used the full $5,000 last year. Landowners were able to use that, so.
Okay, seems reasonable.
Thanks, Hannah. Next is the 150 trees from TD at the Husky Flats.
Yeah, I'll do the update. So this is our, I think back in 2016 or 15, TD has this TD Tree Days, which was an employee event. And then when COVID hit, they couldn't get employees to come and plant them. So staff had to plant them, but we've started using school groups to plant them during the week. So it used to be a Saturday TD planting, and they funded plantings in Stratford and St. Mary's and Mitchell. They always wanted to do something in Mitchell. And they pulled out of some other municipalities, but Mitchell is always, they want to plant trees in Mitchell. So we apply every summer, send a letter to Hannah, hey, they want to plant 150 trees, will support us, and they give us the funding to Upper Thames to do 150 trees. So we have 2 classes next Tuesday, 2 grade 8 classes from Upper Thames coming to plant. And Darcy and I were going out after the meeting to take a look at where we're going. So yeah, so this has been, I think, the 5th year for Mitchell for trees.
Good sponsors.
It's a mix. It's they're all hardwoods. Sometimes we have some cedars or spruce we'll put in, depending. So yeah, and they're potted stock.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Recommendation, I guess.
Mhm. Recommendation that the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee accept the updates with respect to the Rural Roots 2022, the West Perth Healthy Forest Grant, and the TD Free Tree as information. Do I have a mover and seconder for that?
Keep going.
Just keep
Yeah,
going.
must do the whole.
The whole thing?
Oh,
That the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee approve the contribution to the Rural Roots Program for the 2023 budget, and that the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee approve budget line item for the West Perth Health Forest Grants. Now I will ask for a mover and second.
I'll still-
Bird and Don, all in favor? Let's go. 22 Rural Roots final report.
Oh,
And
It's
final-
done. So we're on to
Did-
5.
or did I jump one?
Yeah, we're on to 5.5.
Hey, Evelyn, no,
Yeah.
That was just the,
I was just reading that.
yeah, that was just the link on
Okay.
that was the attachment.
Then we're at Pollinator Gardens update.
okay, stand by.
Oh, very good.
Evelyn provided a lovely presentation for us.
All right, so first off, I want to apologize for being late. When I got in my car this morning, there was steering fluid leaking everywhere. So I'm gonna have to leave a little bit early because I actually have a ride waiting for me. But anyway, so our Pollinator Gardens that we started, I believe it was 2 years ago. So that was in the depths of COVID. We got that project going, and it was a nice little project. We have some existing grassy area outside the wetlands. So that's what it looked like when we first got there. It was just grass that was being mowed, and there was a lot of time and money being invested into just mowing an area that might be better off naturalized. So last year, Bert helped us till out that area. And the first year, last year, we got tons of rain. So it grew really awesome. And the seed mix we used was good, but we wanted to try a new seed mix and just see how those two grew. Now, this year, as we learned, not everything goes as planned. And then the existing plot did not grow as great. Now, I think there was a couple things that contributed to that. And there's really long grass in there, and we wanted to mow it, but I think maybe we mowed it a little bit too late. And I think maybe there was a bit of grass there, but also I think the biggest contributing factor to this year was the lack of rain. Like, I'm working in landscaping, everybody's plants are dying, a lot of trees died. This just was not the best year for plants. But that's not saying that this project failed by any means. This year we added the second half of the plot, and we did get some stuff growing in there. Maybe it's not as much as we originally intended. Stuff did grow because we did really well on the site preparation for this year. I think because we got to it earlier and the grass wasn't as long, we were able to get that plowed up really well. So I think the site preparation was great. It's just the rain wasn't in our favor. And it's really challenging to get any kind of watering equipment out there. So you kind of just have to leave it to nature. But it did create a nice naturalized space that we maybe didn't have before by mowing this. And now that we only need to go in maybe once a year and mow it, just kind of get it cleared up for the next growing season, I think it was still really healthy for insects. We know that a lot of birds are really suffering right now from bird flu. So to have any more habitat space where their insects can just exist and we're not going to mow everything down, I think is better. So I still think this project is nice because we can just kind of sit back and watch and respond to how it grows. I'm hoping that next year we just get more rain and that should help a lot. And then maybe one thing we could do is if we do mow it in the spring, I think we got to do it right as soon as the grass is coming up, just so that it doesn't get, because it's basically like hay or straw in there once that grass gets going. But I think as long as we're not mowing it as much as we were before, we can count it as a success. And there will be things that always grow in there. And the seed mix is now in there and it's seeded. So there's a chance that if it rains next year, it will just come right back. So I think this project is a success, and we can use this to apply it to other areas that maybe don't need to be so highly maintained, because what I'm seeing in landscaping is that our outdoor habits make all the difference. And if we're mowing down every inch of habitat, it's really causing the insects and birds to struggle. So this is a great project. I want to thank you guys for letting me work on it. And if there's anything to improve it in the future, we definitely can, but it's kind of nice because it's kind of one of those ones where we can just sit back and let it flourish. So I want to thank you guys very much.
Well done, everyone.
Any questions or comments?
I hate to make a comment,
Yeah.
but I'm going to make a comment. First of all, the town cut that first patch we made far too late and far too early. They've cut it twice already.
Yeah.
And what happens to all our flowers that grew there? And I thought we had a good patch on that first spot.
Yeah.
And but if they keep cutting it down, I have a few people that say, what the hell are they doing? They keep cutting it down. It's not gonna grow.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the second patch, I've kept my eye on it all year and I wasn't really happy with it.
Yeah.
I was there yesterday and it's got nothing but ragweed and wild carrot.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion is nothing for all the work I've done there. And they've only got about half of it what I worked up. The rest of it's all been cut.
Yeah.
And I told one of the town employees once, why are you cutting this grass? And I don't know. It's my opinion. And my opinion is when you plant stuff on that grass, on that area there, it's been cut for 30 years. And every time the grass has been left there and it's piled up and piled up. And for me to go in there and work that is unreal. They got so much dead stuff laying on the ground. I have a heck of a time working it.
Yeah.
So unless you do something different, I know you do good work and everything, but I'm really disappointed that the town cut that first batch. I keep hearing people saying they should never cut it. Let the grass grow and the flowers grow and they will keep coming. But if they keep cutting them off, anyway, that's my sermon for today. See what happens. I'm
Actually,
sorry.
I happen to agree with you. Bert.
Yeah. I agree.
Well,
I looked at that plot and wondered, what the hell are they doing cutting it? for?
I don't think we'll need more seed for next year. I think with what we've got in there, it should be good. But like Bert said, I think we should just do once spring early cut, because if we are cutting it in the fall, then it starts to, we basically now remove the habitat for the winter, because as soon as you cut over everything with the lawnmower, and what we're finding with a lot of insects, they overwinter in grasses and leftover wildflowers. And right now it's ragweed in there, and I'm hoping next year, once the thing's established, we didn't get a lot of our stuff germinating. But I think just once a year, like I'm talking like April or May cut down, and then maybe don't touch it for the rest of the year, because the more that we touch it and irritate it, the more weeds like ragweeds and stuff that we're gonna get, and the more like straw like buildup we're gonna get over the plants.
One thing that I'd make another comment on. Do you remember the first time I met you I had an aerator in there and I was aerating that first field there between the two pollinator plots and the other. Did you ever notice how much better that grass came once I aerated it?
Yeah.
I got a feeling that if we aerate these plots instead of cutting them, it would make a heck of a difference.
Yeah,
Aerate them, and all an aerator does is go in the ground about 8 inches and makes holes.
yeah,
And lets the Mother Nature do its work.
yeah,
Like we have to help her a little bit and then
Yeah.
cut them off.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think I'm right.
yeah.
See, okay, that's it.
Is part of the problem here that the Mike's guys are used to doing this
I think
X
that's,
many
I think
times?
that's what it is, and that's fine. I'll talk to Mike today. I mean, I'll tell him that don't cut it unless I tell you. And then if Evelyn, you want to reach out to me and say, yep, we want to cut this week,
Okay,
I'll do that. And otherwise we'll just leave it.
yeah, okay, that sounds good.
Because
yeah.
I know he cut it the first time after the hay was coming off. The hay was cutting off and then it's 3 feet tall.
Yeah, I'll talk to Mike.
And then you still have seed.
No, so we used all the seed for the second plot because it was like a smaller amount of seed than we had the previous year. But I know that Pam said that they have seed banks at the library that are free
Oh,
with native seeds.
okay.
So, yeah, we can definitely spread the word on that. 'Cause that's a great resource.
I'm having good success with my little plot down by the river.
Yeah,
When I started, there's quite a few different,
yeah,
good variety of plants.
yeah, I
But I
do,
need to fill in
yeah,
the spots that didn't stay.
yeah.
So you think if I go to the library, I can.
Yeah, so I do, just another comment, I do think that the first seed mix that we used from OSC was the more superior seed mix because the stuff did grow a little better and Patty's still using it and I've seen that little knotweed patch and there's like coneflowers and black-eyed Susan, so it's definitely more visually appealing than the second seed mix. So if the town was to purchase and like have a little bank of seed or something it's something they wanted to donate to the library, I would definitely go with the OSC bee pollinator mix.
And you can fall plant, right?
Yeah, so that seed, if you are to lay it, it's better to put it down in the fall.
And then
Yeah,
it just germinates
Yeah.
in the spring.
yeah, 'cause then it gets nice and cool. It can grow.
And what are the flowers with the long purple all the way up the stem? There were quite a few of those.
Lupins?
They
No,
were
they're different than
lupins,
Might
but-
be a wild one, but I know it's.
Yeah.
Blue vervain?
Yeah, it could be vervain. I don't think it was the orange. I'm not quite sure. But that first seed mix was very successful. It's hard to say what the second seed mix did just because we didn't get the same amount of rain, which is unfortunate, but.
I'm still working away on mine.
This is also a 10-minute warning for the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Okay, moving right along. So Pollinator Gardens Awareness Opportunity.
So Pam?
So I could go quick. So mine kind of ties into Evelyn's. So I'm a butterfly way ranger through the Davis Suzuki Foundation. So they started in 2016 and the goal is to provide as many habitats for bees and butterflies across Canada. So there's all these pollinator gardens popping up everywhere. I'm sure you've seen them, all these in towns. So I think that maybe we could do something with this, make it a pollinator garden, which, and the idea is to have native plants. So I also work with the library, so we have a seed library there. And I'm also working towards trying to find different companies that will just donate seeds, so we can also do it that way when we try and get things started. But just another comment on the gardens. I don't know, like, was it ever watered?
No.
Was there an opportunity to
We were
water?
kind of like leaving it to nature kind of thing, just because we
Yeah.
wanted it to be a low cost
Yeah.
project and as soon as we start bringing, it's also kind of hard to get equipment in there and stuff. So I was just
Have to
sitting
water
there
with
praying
fire
for rain and it didn't come.
But I just wonder, like, could the
Like many
municipality have just sent in a water truck once in a while?
Well, the county
Is
has
that
water
something-
trucks.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So also any other pollinator gardens that we could do, whether it be in the Lions Park, because I have my own personal garden at home, but the goal is to have about 10 to 12 community gardens, like all around pollinator gardens.
And the one that we did down at the demonstration course, it's done, is it?
I cut it all down.
Did you know?
I did so.
Involved in that.
I was asked to cut it down.
Yeah. So
Why?
the advice we got from Karen Pugh at the Conservation Authority was to cut it down to 6-inch or 8-inch height.
Yeah.
And Bert cut it down, and then it was at its point where it needed to be cut, and then we let it come back again. Yeah.
Never come up,
And it
just
did-
the trees,
Yeah.
just the
so-
trees come up.
Yeah, so we don't know what, I don't know what's going on with that seed bank. The seed bank should be there, but it didn't bounce back.
That big plot in the back.
That's
Down
right.
in the,
No, no, no.
down in the,
Yeah, down the-
so I haven't gone down to check, but I didn't get, and maybe we should have a look at it.
Yeah.
Just see if we can do
There's
something.
a couple of trees growing in the area and I cut it up about,
Yeah, you cut it
4
up.
or 5 inches.
No, you cut it as per the spec. So we-
Yes.
we touched base with Karen, and Karen said, cut it, and it was the right time of year to cut it, but I don't know again whether it was just the conditions. So gotta keep moving, I guess.
So Bonnie, does your CA sell bird or bat houses that can be built by like youth?
We don't, at some community events, we'll do a bird or bat house station, but it's always like one of our employees put the kids together, like we haven't done.
I wonder if that would be a good partnership opportunity with our library
Yeah,
to
I
put
think
some
so.
bird and bat houses up at the Pollinator Garden.
We can talk about that. Yeah, perfect.
Anything about the Japanese knotweed removal?
Yep, so UTRCA provided an update to us, just a verbal update that they worked hard again this year on the plot, hand spraying the knotweed, and they've seen a significant reduction of coverage in that area. There are native plants coming back in some areas. And there's been good work done there this year. They're going to provide us with an official report for our next meeting on the update and the funds spent and the time invested. So all positive things have come from that. I've been down there to check it out on the trail and it looks crazy, but the native vegetation will start coming up again.
Thank you. And the dog park tree planting potential opportunities.
That's me again. So I don't know if anyone uses the dog park here, but the grounds are very saturated, especially in the spring. It's like a swamp. So I didn't know if there was a way we could just add some trees, whether it be outside of the park, inside. I know there's the two there, but I think one has died because it's in a cement planter.
Yeah.
And I
that's
think it was
good.
replaced. So I don't know why they're in planters. But just to be able to add some trees, I think, around for shade to the soccer field and just for the park itself, just add shade.
So we could
Help
help
the
that.
the wetness.
The 2013 plowing match planted some trees along the outside and there's a
Yeah.
plaque there for it. But I've had 100 people say to me, why on earth would you put a planter inside the middle of a dog park that's very good aggressive soil that'll grow a tree itself rather than put it in a planter? Because if you have it in a planter, you have to water it.
Yeah.
And the ground, it'll start digging roots to go deeper and get some moisture.
So the reason that planter's there was an extra planter from the downtown
Yeah, I know.
project, and we just had to put it somewhere, and that's where the operations department put it. So we obviously, there's ground to grow trees in there. That planter was just an extra. So it's fair enough, we can put that forward as a budget item, or if we can work with Conservation Authority, look for a tree planting opportunity. We're committed to that site as the dog park, and I think for a while, we weren't certain that we were, but we are. We've got to that point. We've confirmed
Okay.
that.
What's a reasonable budget line item for a tree planting project there? Because they would need fences and stakes and stuff like that.
You'd want some large stock, maybe a few per year, large stock.
Maybe if you planted a tree and put a fire hydrant at the other end.
Yeah.
Put a fire hydrant beside it, look at water. We gotta keep moving, but we should put $1,000 in.
I think that sounds like $1,000 to me.
Yeah,
Okay, and Celebrate Natural Connections event, October 22nd at the Lions Park.
Yeah, I'll just do a quick update. It's part of a grant received and we're doing these Celebrate Natural Connections just to appreciate during COVID, first responders, people that were working during COVID. So these are, we found a lot of people were using nature. You saw the wetlands, people were out. So it's just an event. We did one at Wildwood, we've done one in Woodstock. We're doing one in Stratford, one in Mitchell. So it's next Saturday at Lions Park from 10 to 2, and there's an itinerary there. We're just adding things as we go along, so. Okay. Yes.
Actually, that was brought up at the Rotary Club this morning. We were asked to do hamburgers.
Oh, right, Aaron contacted you.
Are you, have any idea how many people to expect?
The Wildwood one, we had over 200.
Oh, then we're not gonna do it.
No.
I thought if there was only 25 to 50, we would
Yeah, it's hard to say.
probably do it, but our Rotary
We don't want
Club
to work you to.
isn't that aggressive.
No.
Okay, the recommendation that the Forest Trails and Trails Committee accept updates.
Patty just had one more item
Oh,
about the willows.
terribly.
Well, you didn't know, I just added it
Okay.
today. So probably some of you know that we continually lose the native black willows that grow along the river. This past spring, I think just down by us, we lost 4 or 5. They're very old. My niece and her husband have a tree farm. They propagate trees and grasses and things up by Bayfield. And Susan took some branches to root for me to start some new ones. So I'm expecting like 6 or 8 starts, right? 45.
Wow.
Good.
What am I gonna do with 45?
We could put one at the dog park.
I think that's a good job.
Yeah, that's good. Like the Lions Park.
They suck up the water like crazy.
Put a little in the water and it'll start to grow.
Yeah.
Or a branch.
They have to be, they need water. Now, is the dog park, did you say it was wet?
Yeah, it's very wet.
Out there?
Perfect.
So would these work there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could probably put 5 out there.
Well, they get pretty big.
Oh, I know.
You like this?
Dog park, isn't it?
Well, not all in the dog park, but just in that area, you know,
Okay.
along the outside. and-
Let's look into it. Okay, so we can look into it. I was thinking about just, we should really talk to, what's his name at Stratford, Bonnie, that you guys have done all the work with. Sorry? Quinn.
Yeah.
Oh,
About
yeah.
their willow management program, because they're going through the same thing where the trees are roughly the same age, and I'm not sure if they're replacing them or what they're doing in their place, but if we can have is there a timeline when those are available too, or?
We have to go pick these up soon, like they need to be planted this fall. They have rice hulls, I believe, to prevent weed growth at the bottom of them. They're well started.
I'll take a half a dozen or a dozen.
So you,
Standard.
Here,
okay, wetlands, Don?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. 3.
I'd like to do a little research before we say we're gonna plant them. I just want to know, I'd like to know what we're planting. So I agree, I like the species, I can see the picture, but I want to know if we want to continue on a program planting black willows, Patty. So
Okay.
if we can look into it, and I think we can get a hold of Quinn and just have a chat. I wouldn't mind just doing a little consult with Quinn, and then we can find spots, but amongst us, if we could reach out and you can maybe let us know how many we have, and we can figure out what the plan is. That's gonna be a rush to get them in.
Yes, and they are a native tree.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I
Yeah.
just think we have to be smart about what we plant in West
Yeah.
Perth.
Okay, I can plant a few along the river. I thought maybe the Lions could plant some along their side. Got the wetlands, now maybe the dog park.
Yeah.
And Bert,
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be the guy that looks the gift horse in the mouth. But I have to, I mean, we want to make sure, and I expect that it'll all be good, but I just don't want to commit to it without doing any research, period.
so can you contact me then?
Yeah.
About it? Jerry and I will be going up with our little trailer to pick them up probably in the next week or so. And
my big problem is beavers coming now.
I don't know
Yeah.
if the beavers hit them. Do you think they do?
They got all
Anyway,
the trees down
I'll
that
check.
planted so far.
Jeff, how old do you think those trees are?
200.
100,
200 years old.
200?
I don't know that there's a problem. I just want to make sure there isn't. I don't want to sound like I'm being, you know, the real, I don't want to throw cold water.
I know
on
where you're
everybody
coming
here.
from,
I just
but
want to make sure.
The
that-
fact is, I guess if they last 200 years, it's not our problem. Is it?
Not unless they do damage in the first 50. You're gonna live for 50 more.
I'm not gonna live for 50.
Tough it out.
I
Okay,
might add also, they are donated, but if it would be possible, they wouldn't mind a tax receipt for the amount.
Oh, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, moving along here. Recommendation that the Environment, Forest and Trails Committee accept the updates with respect to the Pollinator Gardens, the Butterfly Way Ranger Program at the Westbrook Pollinator Gardens, the Japanese knotweed removal, the dog park tree planting, and the Celebrate Natural Connections event itinerary as information, and that the Information Forest Trails Committee improve the inclusion of the following projects in the 23 budget: the Pollinator Garden, Butterfly Way Ranger Program, Japanese knotweed removal, and dog park tree planting. Do we need a mover and a seconder for that, please? Don? Patty? All in favor? Any correspondence? Any announcements?
can I just
Oh,
speak? Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I think on committee terms is the first item in announcements. I just want to mention that we will be going for committee terms. Just that your term still goes on until you're reappointed, but we obviously will be seeking volunteers for committee members. And I think we're going to have a look at the, just on the basis of discussion again today and what we've already been discussing, we'll look at how we can set these committees up to have the volunteers for the committee and then volunteers. Because I think there can be two levels of volunteer for the environment committee. So I think that's what we'll have a look at. It's just a matter of fine tuning the terms of reference.
Okay, then notice of motion. No, next meeting, the 3rd of February,
Third Wednesday.
oh, the 3rd Wednesday, I'm terribly sorry, you are correct. 3rd Wednesday in February, May, September, and November.
So this meeting was delayed from the September meeting because obviously we were moving house.
Yeah.
So our next meeting is scheduled for November 15th, and that's when we will present the 2023 budget items to be approved and discussed.
Okay, so the next meeting, as she said, November 15th. Any other business?
Move we adjourn.
All right, seconded by Dawn.
I usually like to do that.
All in favor?
I'll put Don down as the mover.
Does anybody want